All right, hey, so a schizoid update. I've just gotten back home from seeing my GP. It's my first appointment since diagnosis last month, and yeah, we're talking about where do we go from here. Now, in the meantime, I have approached organizations like Beyond Blue, which I know is more of a depression thing, but I do get depressed. I've approached them, and also sane.org because they deal with some of the more interesting psychological disorders. And I was just like, hey, I'm having trouble finding a psychologist who knows anything about this disorder. Do you guys have any leads? And despite me saying that I've been in the mental health system for like 15 years, they still gave me beginner level bullshit. So I'm like, well, that was a dead end. It's like, hey, well done reaching out. Aren't you brave? I'm like, I've heard that so many times, I don't give a shit. Oh my god, like I know you're trying to make me feel better, but that is not helpful. I know it's just the script that they all use. It's like calling Lifeline, like, I'm sure it helps some people, but all I hear is the script that they've been told to read to me. So anyway, frustrating. And sane.org, they did give me a different psychologist directory to the ones that I usually peruse, but it's got all the same people. And even when you tick the box that says personality disorders, it's the same people who pop up. It doesn't filter out anyone because every psychologist is theoretically able to treat personality disorders. So they all tick that box because they all want you to come and give them business. And also the problem with that is it just says personality disorders. It doesn't let you specify which one, and the most commonly seen personality disorder in clinical practice, I think, is like borderline personality disorder, which is basically the opposite of what I have. Like, they've got too many emotions. I have too little. Borderline personality disorder is completely different to schizoid personality disorder. So ticking personality disorders as something that you handle as a psychologist is not helpful to me as a patient trying to find someone who, has heard of what I have and knows a little bit more beyond what they've read in a textbook or the DSM. And so, I had no success finding anyone. In the meantime, my GP hit up some of the bigger psychology, psychiatry clinics in Sydney, and she kind of got the same thing. It's just like, they're like, oh, we'd love to take on this referral kind of thing, I think is how she basically described it. And so, they're all enthusiastic to have me as a patient, but it seems like no one can provide any evidence that they know what to do with me or that they've had any experience with schizoids, or me as a covert schizoid and my particular quirks. Like, there's just nothing for schizoids who do want to get help. I know most schizoids don't, but I am tired of having my life just be, and I used to be more productive and stuff, and I just feel like, I want to do more with life. I don't like feeling like everything is pointless and meaningless and I'm just passing time until I die. I would like to be able to feel whatever it is other people feel that make them give a shit about life. But there's no one who can help me. So what do I do for treatment? Now, I was talking to my GP about this, like, should I see someone anyway? Because, I've had a lot of trouble just dealing with employment. This shit that you have to do to survive, even though you don't give a shit about surviving. So, employment, it's getting harder as I get older. I'm finding it more and more difficult to tolerate all the bullshit that we have to go through just to live. I'm super lucky that, like, I'm living with my parents. Although that's a kind of a schizoid thing, is you either live alone or you live with your parents. And I'm living with my parents, so my cost of living is pretty manageable even for someone low income like me. But yeah, no, employment's a difficult thing. So I'm on Centrelink, which, if you're from elsewhere, that's Australia's, like, social security welfare system. And it is a pain in the ass because they're constantly harassing you. But I've got a medical exemption for a little bit while I'm trying to sort myself out, because I have had, issues with depression popping up as well. Although since I've got the schizoid diagnosis, I think I've been better to sort of push through it. I still have mood swings though, so I don't know. Yeah, anyway, so maybe one of the benefits of seeing a psychologist or psychiatrist is to tick their boxes so that they'll, because, Sedlink doesn't know what schizoid personality disorder is, but hey, they don't realize that it's not going to work with any of these experts. Um, like even the experts don't know what to do with me. Isn't that a hopeful thought? Um, but yeah, no, I was like, should I see them for this reason? And she's like, oh, well, I can fill out all the forms. And I'm like, yeah, but, they're more impressed if you're doing all the things. Anyway, no, and then we're like, well, is there something else that I could see psychologists for, like some other benefit? And we're trying to think of what. And she's like, no, not really. Although if you had a specific goal that you wanted to work on, maybe we could find someone to deal with that. And so I'm trying to think of like my goals. And, I was talking to my doctor just about, what I've been trying to do since my diagnosis. Obviously, I've just gotten rid of my hair because who gives a crap? That was last video. Uh, I've been organizing a few things. Patreon has seen one of the things in progress, and I've got a few more things to post. I don't want to go public yet until like things are set up though, just in case anything happens at the last minute, because I don't like telling people that I have something going on and then it doesn't work. Like, with AD Destroyer, my industrial metal collab, that took 4 years to actually get it out there into the world. I finished recording that stuff in 2017 and it took until 2020 to actually get it out into the world, and things not in my control. But at the time I'd been like, guys, I've got this great music project, and then nothing happens for 4 years, so I don't want to actually like go public with some of the stuff that I've been doing until it's actually happening. Okay, so yeah, in the meantime it's all just Patreon. Anyway, like, I've been trying all this stuff to get my life together. What are my goals? And I think, like, it's funny how my memory is already, like, getting fuzzy, even though I've just come home. Although I did have to make a detour to the pharmacy, so. So what were some of my goals that I talked about? I don't know. Like, I'm trying to do things. I'm trying to get more back into creative stuff because I've seen a thing saying, oh, maybe art therapy is worth trying for schizoid so you can learn more about the true stuff. And like creativity's been a part of my life for ages anyway, so if I can't do regular employment, if I can't make use of the mathematical skills that I have, hey, we might as well go with the creative stuff because at least you can explore all these different things, and who knows, maybe I'll find myself in there somewhere. Yeah, anyway, so like, what is that a goal? But as I'm talking to my doctor, like, she's saying like, great, here, let's write down some stuff. And I was just like, yeah, but at the same time I don't really care. And so I got to this point where I was like, I was saying, it's great that we're writing down all these goals, but ultimately, like, I don't give a shit. And then I sort of, went back in. I don't know, it's like I do have different modes when I'm talking to my GP as opposed to talking to YouTube on the camera or whatever other situations. And I guess I sort of came a bit out of that talking to my doctor mode and back into, what do I actually think? And I was trying to explain to, shut up, Hopi! I hope that's not Mum coming back because I would like to keep talking. I don't think it's Mum though because she's meant to be at the gym. Anyway, Hope, stop being distracting! Oh my god, I'm sorry. This is why, like, I need a quiet place to film these videos because, like, distractions like that. And then now I'm wondering, oh shit, is someone coming home? Is that going to break up my YouTube persona? Anyway, settle. Okay, so what I ended up telling my doctor is like, okay, so it's, yeah, great that we're writing down all these goals, but actually I don't really care. And so I think what happens with my psychology is like, I, especially at the moment, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to pretend to care, and I have like these streams, like this mode where I can pretend to care and I can come up with the ideas and think, gee, that's a great idea, I should really do that. But then there's also this other mode where I just don't give a shit, Like, what's the point of all this stuff? I'm going to die eventually anyway, and then everyone who is sad about me dying, they'll also die too. And then, it's not long before I'm completely forgotten, and anyone who could possibly be sad about the end of my existence, they're gone too, so no one's sad, so what does it matter, and we're all gonna die anyway. We're just this random, um, anomaly in the universe, creating something to understand itself, and then we're all gone really fast. Like, the universe is billions of years old, and here we are, this tiny little blip, and then we're gone, we're not gonna survive that long. You kidding? Elon Musk with his bloody Mars rockets. Yeah, go to Mars. Go have fun with that, with the terrible atmosphere and all this kind of stuff, and the long journey to get there, the effects of low gravity, the effects of whatever radiation, and all the crap that you have to go, yeah, go to Mars. Let's see if humanity survives that. And then even if we do survive Mars, like, our species is not great. We're not going to last that long, I feel. And even if we do, even if we last like 1,000,000 years, in the grand scheme of billions of years of the universe, it's not that long. We're just this little blip. So who gives a shit? We exist and then we're gone, and that's it. And the only purpose or the only meaning and all that is created by ourselves. So while we're here, oh yes, isn't it great to make the most of life? But when we're gone, that meaning only exists because we exist and we give things meaning. So after that, then it's just like, wasn't that an experiment that the universe doesn't give a shit about? Humans here one day, gone the next, or else. So like, my logic, to me it seems logical, is just like, none of this means anything. It's not really that real. It's just, there's no meaning to it. It's pointless. I exist and then I don't. So yeah, it's like, I don't have whatever that human thing is to care about the here and now, to care about this brief existence that we have. I don't feel it. I know people think that because we're here for such a short time, that makes it much more valuable, but to me, I'm just like, shit, hey, I don't experience that. Okay, so, like, okay, I explained to my doctor as well, like, I don't really want to be here. I'm not enjoying life. It's just this horrible endurance game. I don't want to be here. But I'm also not the kind of person who's going to run out in front of a truck and try to kill myself. Like, I am not that kind of person, partly because I don't like pain. I really don't like pain. And also, if you mess up an attempt, then you're in a worse off position. You're in more pain. You've got people watching you, hovering over you to make sure you don't try again. And it just, like, life becomes even more unpleasant, and it makes it even harder to, like, find an escape route. So I'm not the kind of person who's going to kill myself, basically. Okay, that means I'm stuck here, so what do I do to pass the time between now and death? And that's where I pretend to care about things. And that's why I have these pretend goals. But ultimately I don't give a shit. And so I was trying to explain that to her, and I don't know how much she understood it, because she's just sort of listening and maybe trying not to react, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever. It just, so I don't have any particular goals to take to a psychologist. Like, I pretend that I want to function better and be more creative and all this kind of stuff. But really, I don't give a shit. I'm just trying to pass the time until I die. And I hope I don't live too long. Like, she tried the whole thing, okay, when you're 50 or when you're 80, what do you want to look back on your life and see that you've done? And I'm like, I don't want to last that long. And she's like, okay, what about when you're 70? And I'm like, yeah. She's trying really hard to make me feel better, but unfortunately all those strategies work better for people who have, like, regular depression and, I don't know, I guess self-esteem issues or whatever. Like, she even did the thing where, okay, yes, you have this disorder, but, like, that we don't really know why these things happen, and, you evolutionarily, you fit probably into some niche that humanity needs, and, like, oh, you're so intelligent and analytical, and, you bring that out in creativity, and that gives you value in the world. And I'm like, yeah, great, but I don't really give a shit if I give value in the world. I did tell her I made that video about, my diagnosis, schizoid personality disorder, and actually that's been really popular, which surprised me. Not a lot of people commenting. I guess maybe because they're all schizoids. I don't know, like, do schizoid people seek out other schizoid people and then just watch my video, but because they're schizoids they don't want to comment? I've had a few comments, but usually for that number of views I would get a lot more comments, and so I thought that was really interesting if there are schizoids watching my videos and keeping to themselves. I'm like, I like that. There's something nice about that. Like, they're behaving the way that I expect them to. Anyway, I told her I made that video, and like, yeah, it's sort of become one of my more popular ones. Like, it's already overtaken some of the other ones in terms of like my 28 days of video analytics. How well videos have performed in the last 28 days. It's like top spot. And I think she sort of found that interesting, I guess maybe for awareness or something. We didn't talk about it that much. But maybe that's what made her think, oh, you have value in other ways. I don't know. But I'm sort of just like, yeah, I guess documenting my journey. But point being, I don't have any particular goals to work towards. Like, I'm trying to come up with goals, but it's really hard to stick to them. I can come up with ideas, but hanging on to that idea and feeling like it's meaningful, it just sort of slips out of my hands. So I can't, yeah, I really can't hang on to the idea that anything is worth doing. I have to like keep forcing myself into that mindset where I can pretend to care. But it's really tenuous, and it's very easy to slip back into like, oh, what's the point of anything? Yeah, so no point seeing a psychologist or psychiatrist. Like, yeah, maybe I'd tick some Centrelink boxes, but it's not really valuable otherwise. And then, when my Centrelink exemption runs out, I can apply for another one, and on that one we will put schizoid personality disorder, and my doctor can maybe explain a few more things about it to them. I'll probably have to have another employment assessment. I'm hoping they'll drop it below, the threshold of, like, at the moment, I think the last assessment, they said I could work 20 hours a week, which I haven't, like, I've reached maybe once or twice since they made that assessment. And I've not been able to sustain, like, I did one week, out of so many other weeks that I was able to work that much. And I just can't, because if I work too much, I get depressed, because, like, what's the point of all this? I would rather just die, kind of thing. Which is, like, it's kind of a crap way for my brain to keep sabotaging me, but I don't really have any say on that. Sorry, sometimes I feel like I've got dog fur balls in my mouth. I guess it just floats in the air. Anyway, yeah, so, but, with the 20 hours a week assessment, if I worked 15 hours a week, then I wouldn't have to go to these employment services, right? But I think there's a threshold where if you're assessed as having less than that capacity, you don't have to see anyone. And I think that would help. Like, I am working 1 day a week, and I'm trying really hard to keep that up. That's my bonsai job, because, I guess that's kind of more like the art therapy thing in a way, but, a little bit more full on. Some days it's really hard, and then the next day I'm always so low on energy. But I am trying to keep that up because I think it is good for me. Like, on the logical side, I'm trying to think, yes, that's probably good for me. Even though it doesn't always feel like it, I think it is good for me to keep that habit up. But I can't have this pressure that I have to work a certain number of hours, or else they're gonna make me go to an employment service where I have to talk to a person, which is the opposite of what my disorder wants me to do. And they can't help anyway, because they don't know, they're not going to understand my disorder, and they don't understand my needs, and there's just, and they don't even help regular people. They're terrible, and then you want them to help me with all my issues. Oh my god. So if Centrelink could, like, assess me properly as, like, just being able to do the 1 day a week at my bonsai job, because I can do that. I've proven I can do that. I haven't had any issues of fluctuating hours with that, really. Like, occasionally I need a day off, but otherwise I've mostly been consistent with that. If they could just drop my requirement, and then I don't have to see these idiots who don't know how to handle me. I'm hoping that's something that can be done for me, because, yeah, since, I've got this exemption from the 15 hours a week thing, I've been able, I've dropped my finance work, and not being able, sorry, my ear just went a bit funny. Yeah, getting rid of the finance job has helped me relax a little bit, because that was really stressing me out. That was really making me feel like a robot, which I guess feeds into more of my problem, because I already feel like a robot. I feel like I'm observing my life. I'm outside my life, I guess. Like, the world is just this thing that I'm watching, and it doesn't mean anything to me. It's like I'm not really part of the world. And then here I am just being a robot, and I'm like, what even am I? And it was so boring, and like, yeah, because my brain didn't really have to engage. Like, it was all this automatic movements, and I'm just like, I couldn't keep doing that job. It was just getting worse. So yeah, not having to do that job has helped me at least relax, so I can think about how am I going to fix my life, even if I might not be that successful. At least I'm trying. Yeah. Now, I did look a little bit more deeply at the disability pension. I would not qualify, I don't think, because it's set up in such a way that the criteria definitely doesn't understand schizoid personality disorder. And then I don't think I'm that bad. I mean, yes, I can't really look after myself properly, but I don't know. At this stage, I just don't think it's worth it. But if I did go for disability, then I would have to see a psychologist and or psychiatrist, and I'm just like, what's the point? They can't do anything for me. So I'm just like, yeah, I'm not even, I would like to try and get my life back to some kind of level where people will stop telling me to apply for disability, because I don't think I'm that, like, I'm trying really hard not to be that bad anyway. So I just want to be on the unemployment benefit, just at like a lower level of expectation than what they currently think of me, because, you know, now that we know I have this disorder, I'm just like, it's not going to get any better. I just need less pressure, you know. But anyway, so yeah, before this video turns into another 50-minute monster, basically, no success finding a psychologist. I'm not going to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist or anything, because none of them have the relevant experience. What I might try, I still don't think this will have much, you know, benefit, but I'll try sending emails to people who do research, whether that's a university or I think Black Dog does some research. I'll just be like, hey, I'm one of these randoms with schizoid who you never ever see. Would you like to research me and maybe help me in the process? I'm sure they won't answer because they're all busy, and also, like, you know, because schizoids don't turn up to be helped at all. You know, I'm one of the unusual ones who wants help. Because we don't show up much in clinical practice, the government and all these research people, they have other priorities. They would rather focus on more common problems than schizoids. So the chances of anyone wanting to do any research for us, for my problem, pretty low, but a bit like the lottery, you've got to be in it to win it, right? So I might do that, and that's probably the last hope I have of finding anyone who's going to give a shit about this disorder and have any hope of actually helping me, instead of just wasting my time. Like the last psychologist, holy shit. And she was listed as, you know, in one of those databases, she ticked the personality disorder box, and I'm like, bullshit, you don't even know how to use statistics in psychology, as if you know about the weirdest personality disorders, like, you know, the really obscure ones. Get lost. But, you know, that's how I know they all just tick the box, because technically they are qualified, even if they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Anyway, the only other thing that I'm going to try is, what is this stuff? It's called Marvel. So I'm changing what pill I'm taking. So I'm on the contraceptive pill for period pain. This is the one that I've been taking for the last decade or so, and part of the reason I was prescribed this one is because I think it's called Diane. This is a, you know, cheap version of it, generic, because why spend extra money on this shit? That one I was prescribed because I used to have a lot of skin problems with acne. Some of you will remember that, and so it has a higher level of, like, it sort of blocks testosterone a bit better, which you know, testosterone can mess up your skin. And so, yeah, that's why I was on that one. I think it's actually technically not prescribed as a contraceptive, because there's blood clotting issues, but I have very low blood pressure, so, and also if I die, I don't give a shit. I was technically prescribed that for acne. And yeah, you know, my face is pretty clear. I do get things popping up every now and then, but, you know, reasonably easy to deal with. I've got the creams and stuff when I need it. But so the reason I asked to change pill or review what pill I'm on is because on Thursday I forgot to take it in the morning, and that day I was actually really productive. I remembered in the evening, I was like, oh, maybe this is why I've been behaving differently, because every time I forget to take it, I do notice a difference in my behavior. There was one time though that I forgot to take it for 2 days, and I got really aggro. Now, keep in mind, I skip all my periods because I just can't go back to having them. They completely screw up my whole balance, and I'm in terrible pain for 2 days, and then trying to recover from all that. It really messes me around. So I think maybe being on the pill back to back, I think I started doing that around last depression. I don't know. I've been doing it for quite a while now, and I think it's really stabilized my moods a bit better. Just some of you will remember before, in the before days, when I wasn't on it, and then when I was only on it, the properly, where you do like 3 weeks on, 1 week off, the sugar pills and all that. I think I used to be a lot more erratic, and maybe some of that is teenager stuff. Well, I was in my 20s, but the similar teenage fluctuations, early adulthood fluctuations, trying to figure out who you are, and, maybe I was less stable in that sense. Like, as you age, you do kind of mellow out, but I think also having my hormones sorted did mellow me out a bit, because hormones actually do a lot, and particularly testosterone, and that was blocking the, testosterone type things in my body, because females do still have it. But it does have a big impact on your behavior. It has an impact on a lot of things. I think that's why, when you see trans women who are very early in their transition, it's very hard for them to drop a lot of the male characteristics, both physically and even behaviorally. If you remember the GameStop thing, testosterone is very strong, and it's very hard to come away from that, and a lot of those changes are permanent, right? And also why when you see trans men, when they go on the hormones, they start looking male quite quickly by comparison to trans women trying to go the opposite way. Like, testosterone is very strong. And, if you consider that I'm very sensitive to any kind of medication that affects my brain, my doctor's like, oh, it's probably not that, because, it takes a few days before you get, breakthrough bleeding, which, or, you shouldn't be able to notice things that quickly. But I'm like, yeah, but I'm so sensitive. Maybe half a day off it is enough to change my behavior. And so, she's like, okay, here's the reason I put you on it, the acne and all that, but let's have a look at this chart and see what we could try instead. And so this is the one that I'm going to try. Now, it has the same amount of estrogen as my old pill, so that's not gonna change. But this one had cyproterone as the, I think it's like a progestin, or I don't know, that was the sort of testosterone blocking thing, whereas this one has desogestrel, I don't know. I might look it up and see exactly what it does, but it's supposed to be less so, and it's also, I think, a lower I don't know, I think they're different. Maybe it's a lower dose of whatever the hell that is. Maybe it's also just different. But so it's supposed to have less of that testosterone blocking thing, which means that my skin might start getting a little bit harder to manage, but at least I know that, so I can be prepared, make sure I wash my face, which I don't really do as much as I probably should, but, I've gotta grow up at some point, supposedly, although I'm schizoid, so will I ever grow up? Maybe not. But it'll be interesting to see, because if I'm having less of that testosterone blocking thing, maybe that'll help with my mood, because one of the reasons she picked this, apart from having the same level of estrogen, is it's supposed to be better for people who experienced depression with other types of pill. So we'll see if that helps my energy at all, productivity. I don't know. I've still got a couple weeks to finish the other pill, but when I start on this, we'll see if it makes any difference, having a little bit less, because otherwise my strategy was just going to be to stay on the same pill, but maybe I'd only take it, maybe I'd skip it every third day. I don't know, there's no evidence to that. It's just like, well, here's something that happened to me. So the best I've got, no psychology, no psychiatry, gonna try my own creative art therapy kind of thing. I don't want to see an art therapist because I think they would be absolutely useless and annoying, just like every other human, pretty much. But you know, like I can take some of that theory and do my own attempt at creative therapy. But otherwise, the only other thing I could think of is hormones, so we're gonna try and see if fixing my hormones helps in any kind of way. So that's where I'm at, half an hour. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And if you're a researcher, I guess you could email me about whether or not there's anything to help me, but because I guess there could be some students watching this. Oh look, a new schizoid YouTuber, maybe we can learn something about her. Although I do have that covert thing, so I probably seem a little bit more, you know, talkative and out there compared to other schizoids I've seen on YouTube. But hey, we've got to have like all the different types of schizoid instead of just the stereotypical one. Yeah, I guess you could email me. There's like a little form on my website, or there's like the YouTube contact. But keep in mind that if you're coming through any of these channels, I'm going to be very suspicious, because being a YouTuber, I have some like interesting people watching me sometimes, and since my schizoid video, I have had at least one interesting person contact me, and me not being able to verify whether or not they're a real person or someone trying to scam me, or, you know, like I often get fetish people, like because of my glasses or whatever weird thing they notice. Fetish people annoy me sometimes, and they'll try and pretend to be someone they're not and start these dumb conversations. But how strong are your glasses? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, shut up. There's all kinds of people who have tried to contact me over the years, so I don't trust easily. If you can't prove who you are, and if you're not willing to prove who you are, don't bother me. So yeah, like I'm open to researchers or whoever contacting me if they can help me, but I'm also very suspicious. So yeah, that's where I'm at, stuff and things, and then I've got to go and edit all these other videos that I've filmed and just can't be bothered, but hey. No, oh, I'm gonna eat some lunch. Yeah, after my appointment, I thought I'll go and buy some lollies, but they didn't have the lollies that I wanted, and I was gonna buy like crispy M&Ms, and Lindt balls were also on special, but while I was holding them, I just lost interest, and I thought I'll get some lunch instead, and now that I'm finished filming this video, it's lunchtime, and I'm gonna have this beef whatever roll this is with some funny sauce, and yeah, that's it. That's everything. I'm done, guys. See ya next time for whatever video that is.